Hello and welcome to this video. My name's Beckham. The subject here is Adobe's Bridge, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at creating a metadata template, applying keywords, and we're also going to look at keyword search and filters. Let's start by opening up Bridge, and we're going to create a metadata template, as I mentioned in the video on importing images. Once the template's made, it can be applied to every image as we import them. We need to go to Tools from the menu options, and we need to select Create Metadata Template. Now what opens up is a very comprehensive window, but we've only got to make these changes once. So let's make a start with just the basics, but first of all let's give our template a name. I'm going to call mine Beckham Digital, and we can move on from there. Now what information we decide to include here will be a personal choice, but for the sake of this demo let's just keep things simple, and we'll just glance at one or two of the options as we go by. You never know, you may need them in the future. You can see by these little arrows that I can click them and I'll open up what's within them. So we could put down the creator of the picture, which is me, and you can see all of the other options that we may have. I'm going to bypass most of these, as I said. We're just going to keep things simple. I would put my email in there, I would put my website in there, but there's lots of information that I may not want to include in my particular metadata. You can see there's quite a bit. So if we tuck this away, all we would need to do is to go down all of these systematically and just pick those that we think are relative to us. Once we've done that, all we've got to do is to save it. Just make sure you've still got your template name there, but that's it. Just take your time, go through the options, fill in the data you want your images to capture, and save, and we're done. Now once we've created the metadata template, whenever we import images onto our computer, let me go to my import here, select a device. Let's assume we was going through the motions here. Last time we was in this panel I included the creator as Barry Beckham and the copyright, as you can see, my website, but we use the basic metadata. But now there I have my own personal metadata that we just created, and when we select that we don't see anything, but of course we know what's going to be saved with all of the images as they're imported. Get media, and we transfer the images from the card or the camera, and we apply the metadata template at the same time. Applying keywords. Now applying them is not a difficult job, but it can be very much like New Year's resolutions, and what I mean by that is we start with the best intentions on January the 1st, but by the end of the month those good intentions are forgotten or lost. If you're going to apply keywords to help you search and find images, it needs to be something you do religiously every time you import images onto your computer, because the first time you forget to do it or choose not to do it, your keyword search is compromised. In an earlier video I suggested we create this window as our own personal workspace, and I called it Barry's, but now I need to get access to my keywords, and if you remember I tucked them away on the right hand side, so just click and drag to open them up. There we can see the keywords, and we can see a few suggestions from Adobe. You can see by the numbered label here that that is telling us that within the category of events we have three subcategories: birthday, graduation and wedding, and we can see the same on each of these. What I'm going to do though to demonstrate is to create my own set. But if we wanted to just change these, because I'm unlikely to need any of these names, these are just an idea that Adobe are giving us. But if I wanted to keep the places rather than delete these and create new ones, I can just highlight them, right click, choose rename, and I could put something in there which was more relevant to me perhaps. It's quick and easy to do that. Making sure I don't have anything highlighted, so I'm just going to click down here. I'm going to create a category because I'm going to demonstrate with a few pictures of skies. As you can see, a few of them up in the center there. So I'm going to go to the little option at the top right, and I'm going to select a new keyword which I'm going to call skies. If I can spell it, I've hit the wrong key. Once I've done that and it's created, I'm going to right click it and I'm going to put a subcategory in there, so we can put a new subcategory inside skies, and I'm going to use the options I've put over here for demo purposes. So if we was looking, or we wanted to add keywords to images of skies so we can find them easy, this is just my suggestion and my demonstration set. There's a few here called sunshine, so I need to create one for that. I'll create one for sunset and stormy, so new sub. Bear with me while I get these set up. There's only a few, so I'll do them while you're waiting, so to speak. So what have I done? What am I missing? Sunset and then other. Now, one thing we need to remember with keywords is we can give images keywords either from the category or the subcategories, and with these perhaps we should give them both. And the idea here is when and if we do a search for skies, it will show us our sunshine, sunset, stormy and other in entirety. But then if we wanted to refine that and say, no, let me just have a look at my stormy skies, then we would select the stormy and it would only show them. So let's carry on and apply the keywords here. So what I'm going to do here is to say Control A and select all of those images. I'm going to tick the box for skies, and I'm also going to tick the box because I'm going to say they need a keyword of sunshine. So they were taken in normal sunshine. Both of those keywords now will be applied to those images. Let me move on to my sunset, and I'll do the same again. I'll click and drag to highlight them this time, just a slightly different way, but I'll give them a keyword of skies, and on this occasion we need sunset. Moving to stormy, same thing again, skies and stormy, and finally we've got the two which I've labelled other. Now what I'm doing here for demonstration purposes is to add a few keywords to some completed images. But if we got into a system where we always do something like this when we import images onto our computer, so not only do we import the images, we may make an automatic backup of them, we may apply a metadata template, but we can also put in our keywords, certainly the basic keywords we may wish to use. Now, as you can see by the spinning round of the screen, I've just navigated to another batch of images. In fact, there's two sorts of images here. These ones are from a place called the Glasshouse Mountains, and further down I've got some from a rainforest. So I'm going to give these both keyframes too, because they're both come from places nearby to where I live. So if I go to my places, maybe I could select Paris, which I'm not using, right click and rename this as Glasshouse Mountains. They're not exactly mountains, and you can hardly see them in these photographs. They're actually the hardened cores of long since dead volcanoes. Quite interesting though. And further down I've got some from this area here, which is called Mary Cairncross Reserve. So I could maybe change San Francisco to Mary Cairncross, which would mean something to me. And now I can apply those keywords. let's start with Mary Cairncross, seeing as we're down the bottom. I can select the bottom image, holding the Shift key, scroll up. There's the last one for Mary Cairncross. So it hit the tick, so they've got their keywords. Now the first one of the Glasshouse Mountains, and select them all, and we can tick that too. So in a very short time we've applied quite a number of keywords already. We're also working in my finished images folder, but we could equally be working in my raw files folder too. So let's do a little bit of searching. I want to come down here and I want to see what sky pictures I have, and bear in mind of course we've just got a few for demo purposes. In time we could have quite a few hundred skies. But if I right click, you can see there's a find option down there, and when I select it, up pops that find option. Now it's picked up where it needs to look in because I highlighted that before I did the find. Let me cancel that, because I think if I left this somewhere else, let me just put it down here for a moment. If we were to go into skies now and right click and find, you see it wants to look in seascapes. So we may have to select it from here, but if we just select the folder first, it's not there. So I'd either have to do a browse for it, but it's probably quicker if we can remember to say, well, I need to search my finished images or my raw images depending on what we're looking for. So back to my skies, right click and find. So there we can see it's looking in the right place. The criteria we're looking for from all of these options is keywords, and we need it to contain the word skies. Any criteria? Yes. Include subfolders? Well, that may be important for us, and I'll click find. There we can see all of the images that we give those keywords to. And as I said just a few minutes ago, of course, this is for demo purposes. What we could have opened up here, if we've been doing this for some time, would be a couple of hundred images or more. So quite often we're going to need to refine our search. If I just wanted to view my stormy pictures, no matter where I was or what I was looking at, I could go down here, go to my stormy tag or my keyword, right click, choose find. Again, it's jumped to the wrong place, so we would need to remember to go back via browse or via highlighting the main folder we need to search in. That's an important thing. But when I right click again and find, we know everything here now is going to be correct. We can just click find, and there we have the three images which were tagged under stormy. Now I've been to the Glasshouse Mountains a number of times because it's a local beauty spot, and we often go there when the weather is right or the light is right for our photography. So over a period of time I'm going to have quite a few visits to the Glasshouse Mountains. So we may even at some stage make the Glasshouse Mountains a category and have subcategories which may indicate whether you went there on a sunny day, stormy day, or maybe you would want to use the date. Again, that's going to be personal. But here, if I right click and find again, you can see everything's there now. All I need to do, and it's looking in the right place, find, there's all my Glasshouse Mountains, and of course I can do exactly the same with Mary Cairncross. It all works remarkably well. Now you can perhaps see some of the potential hazards of keywords when we come back to our Glasshouse Mountains, because this is going to be a place that I'm going to visit before, and I've already visited a number of times. So I'm very likely to have subcategories within the category of Glasshouse Mountains. But the first time I import a batch of raw images, such as those we're looking at here, and I either choose not to or I forget to give them the keywords, then I really bring down the whole of my catalog system, because the next time I do a search I'm not going to be seeing all the images I have. So it's one of those things we either have to do it properly or not at all. Now with the spinning round of the screen, let's move on to looking at filters, and when we set up our own personal workspace, we tuck the filters away over on the right hand side, so we have them here. So before we close this panel down, let me drag my filters out and drop them into a more convenient position, and I'll give myself even a little more space for the moment, and we'll bring these up, and I can tuck that panel away to give myself a little more space on screen. Now I could possibly do with a few more images on screen to demonstrate filters, so let me select my June folder, which has a few more. There's a number of ways we can filter images, as you can see by all of the options we've got here, but they all work in exactly the same way. So the one that's open by chance here is ISO speed ratings. So what is it telling us here? It's telling us that within this folder of images, one image was shot at 80 ISO, 77 at 100, 1 at 125, 30 at 200, 33 at 400, 1 at 1000 and 1 at 1600. So if I was searching for the image I shot at high ISO, if I select that, there it is. You can see a little tick there. If I'm looking at them and I think to myself, well, let me include the 1000 ISO as well, I can click that too and add to it if I want to. Now the filtering we're doing here, of course, is from the data that's automatically created when we shoot our images. And if I wanted to remove the 1600 shot image, I can just remove the tick, tuck the ISO away. Supposing I wanted to see which images I shot with my long telephoto lens. I hope there's some in here now I've said that, but let me open this up. And you can see all of the different focal lengths that I've used. Let's go down to the bottom. And sure enough, I've got a couple of long ones there. I've got 17 pictures, and when I select them, each one of these we can tell was shot with a 400mm lens. Now I've got a Canon 100 to 400mm, so that's what we're looking at here. Let me remove this tick and tick the bottom one. The reason this one says 560 tells me instantly and shows me the 4 images that were used with that lens. It's a 400mm lens with a 1.4 multiplier, so you can see how quick and easy it could be for me to filter images for focal length, for lens, model, serial number, white balance, camera raw, and all of the other filter options we have. Now as you can see, I've tucked all of the options I've got away because I want to take you to keywords, because if any of these images had been given keywords, and I'll tell you not many have, but I'm looking just in the June folder here. So if I go to my keywords, I can see that 3 of these images were shot at Lake Macquarie, so when I select them I just get those 3 isolated out and shown to me. Over on the right, of course, that figure there tells me how many images are actually in that folder, but we're only viewing 3 of them, so I'll remove the tick. Some time ago an acquaintance of mine sent me a couple of images from the new Canon camera, the one that shoots 50 million pixels. And when I open up the author's name, I can see that she must have added the tag there, because I'm pretty certain I didn't, which is quite useful because I can demonstrate to you that I can see Doreen's 2 images she sent to me quickly and easily from 142 in the folder. Last look, let's turn that one off, and we'll just take a look at one other option. We've looked at focal length. We could be looking sometime at exposure, couldn't we? If we're looking at a batch of images, particularly if we're looking at a batch of raw images, and we may look at 1 or 2 of them and think, well, I'm not sure that image is really as sharp as I would like. Well, if we filtered them, we can start to look at them from the fastest shutter speed and then work our way back, adding images and removing the ticks. If we just want to see the ones shot at 1,000 thousandths of a second, there we have them. There's 10 of those. There's 3 at 800. You can see how useful filters could be. If you've enjoyed this video, and particularly if you're watching on YouTube, please check out the links below to our Photoshop for Photographers video course. Come along to our website also, because one of the other things that I put a lot of time and effort into is digital audio visual. We have lots of slideshows for you to download and view, a great way for you to present images, and we have the software and also tutorials as well.